Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. Today we are looking at Kiss, the Army of Darkness. This is a crossover between Kiss and the Army of Darkness. Written by Chad Bowers and Chris Sims with art by Rarari Coleman. Sorry if I butchered that one. Colors by Timothy C. Brown. Letters by Troy Petari. Editor Kevin Kettner. Okay, so this is the first part of a mini-series. I believe it's a 6-parter. And you know what? I expected this to be horribly awful. I'd read some of the Army of Darkness books back when they first started coming out. I think they were put out by Devil's Due. And they were stupid. Like, incredibly stupid, horribly drawn, etc. This is another story. So we open up at the Michigan Pontiac Silverdome in 1979, and that'll bring some flashbacks. I don't think that's there anymore. And we've got Ace, Peter, Gene, Paul having a concert, and it's pretty cool. They're rocking out the show, and there's some cultists there. Because, of course, they were given the power of the Destroyer. Now, I don't know a whole lot about how they've built up the Kiss mythology in comics in the last several years. I know there have been Kiss comics, but I haven't really been paying attention. I do remember Kiss Meet the Phantom of the Park back in the 80s. I have that on VHS, and wow, they had these special gemstones that gave them superpowers. And if you haven't seen that, find it. It's outstanding. Outstandingly bad. It was a TV movie. Anyway, so apparently they've been given some sort of super demonic powers, which kind of fits with the hype in the 70s and 80s that they got, where they were said to be knights in Satan's service or whatever, and they called their fans the Kiss Army, which is referenced in here. The writers obviously had some idea of Kiss's history. So this lady comes running up to the entrance and starts complaining, saying, "Hey, let me in, let me in." Nope, show's sold out, has been for weeks. Well, by the time things get sorted, she's not on the screen anymore, as it were, and Kiss is exiting the stage. And when Kiss exits the stage, there are a bunch of cultists standing around ready to deal some damage. Well, they don't really have a chance because Kiss has superpowers or super demon powers or something. Gene Simmons has wings. One guy could shoot lasers or whatever. Okay, it's a little silly. But then they start fighting with these cultists, and these cultists aren't getting very far, but they have an advantage in that they have the Necronomicon. So, of course, the head cultist leader guy recites the 3 words and sends them to oblivion. And the lady who had made it into the concert by now was like, "Oh no, I'm too late." 2 years later, fast forward a little bit, and we have Ash Williams, legendary deadite hunter, sitting in a hospital room looking at his stump of a hand. Now, he has lost his hand, but not in the way that we all remember from Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. No. So this lady comes up to him and starts saying, "Hey, look, I'm here to tell you the truth about what happened, about what's supposed to have happened. The timeline's all wrong." And, he's like, whatever. She brings up Kiss and tells him that Kiss was abducted by these cultists, and Ash had tickets to see a concert with them, but they disappeared after the thing at the Silverdome. So she goes on to explain that they were supernatural warriors, granted nearly unlimited power by an eldritch force called the Destroyer. But they channeled their powers into music, despite their mission being originally to usher in what she calls Hell on Earth. They were strengthening the barrier between the worlds. The source of power being used was from the Necronomicon. And she's like, "Didn't you know what the Necronomicon is?" He's like, "Yeah, my nerdy cousin Ted tried to talk me into playing dragons and dingbats back in college. Thought this Necronomicon stuff was stupid back then, too." So he kind of dismisses her, and she says, "Look, you think that you lost your hand by accident?" And he says, "Wait, you're telling me the universe wanted me to lose my hand?" And there's a really actually funny joke in here describing how he loses his hand. And he's like, "Yeah, that tracks." And she shows him the drawings in an old book where how he had met Spinach Chin before, the wise man in King Arthur's court, which I suppose was probably supposed to be Merlin. And we get a couple of scenes from Army of Darkness. And she provides him with a metal hand that was 700 years old, the one from Army of Darkness. And he's like, "You made me a hand?" And she said, "No, you made it 700 years ago." But then the cultists show up, and they use some mystic force to grab the chick. Dude smacks Ash with the Necronomicon, and it starts to make him feel funny. He's starting to remember. The Necronomicon talks to the guy, and the cultist guy, and tells him to get rid of him. So he sends Ash through a vortex, and we get a little bit of a repeat from... There's a lot of homages in here from the trilogy movies. Ash is cast away. The girl tells him to find Kiss, and he arrives back in time, back at the castle, but he's too late, and we could see a zombified Henry and some zombified guys behind him, and Spinach Chin tells him that he's a few years too late. So that's where the issue ends, and I have to say the art was okay. It wasn't spectacular, but I've seen a lot worse. It was okay. It was a little stylistic at times, like there's some issues with the way the proportions are drawn that I have, but overall it gets the job done. The story was actually a lot of fun. It was way better than I expected. Leaps and bounds better. I'd give this one a recommend, especially if you're a fan of Army of Darkness and Kiss. It was a good time. There's a decent story being built up here. We get a little bit of everything, and if you've seen the Army of Darkness movies, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2, Ash versus the Army of Darkness TV series, any of that, you'll probably dig it. It was a fun story, so I recommend this one. I thought it was fun. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel, and we hope to see you on the next episode. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Kiss, the Army of Darkness, issue 2 from Dynamite 2018. And we pick up a short time after we left off previous issue, with Ash being marched by the undead version of his captors from Army of Darkness. Things are definitely wrong. He's been gone for 2 years, and that's given the time for the evil to arise and corrupt all the people that he originally teamed up with in Army of Darkness. So everything is wrong. Old Spinach Chin keeps calling him the Promised One, which is really irritating Ash. And of course, this results in him getting thrown into the pit. Unlike last time, things don't go well, and Ash becomes a deadite. Now, just then, Kiss shows up, and they go to save the old guy, but he insists that Ash be taken too, because he is the Promised One, and Gene Simmons has to grab him, and then they make their escape on some horsies. Meanwhile, evil Sheila is commanding her troops to get them, that she wants them all dead by dawn. Thankfully, Ash is woken up. He is still infected with the deadite virus or whatever, but Kiss has used their face paint makeup. They had just enough to cover his face and keep him rational and sane and slightly less undead, but it won't last. And they recount what happened to them and how they got there, and how Sheila was the only one brave enough to go try and retrieve the Necronomicon because the Promised One never showed up. That actually ended up in her being corrupted, hence evil Sheila, and she corrupted everybody else, and the book absorbed a bunch of Kiss's power, absorbing the power of the Destroyer for its own, making it more powerful. And she's just getting more and more powerful. And that's when everybody kind of figures out what's going on, is that Kiss was actually sent back in time to prevent Ash from seeing them, being inspired by their music, and then going on his trip to the cabin and setting all of this in motion so that he didn't get sucked through the portal and go back in time when he was supposed to. So somehow they have to get back in time to play that concert that Ash should have gone to. And to do that, they need to fend off the Army of Darkness, and that's where we're going to pick up next issue. And you know what? This issue was a lot of fun. It was silly. It didn't go anywhere like what you expected. Ash did not come out well on this one, but you see a glimmer of the actual character here. It's really an homage to the Army of Darkness and the prequels. So I think Chad Bowers and Chris Sims did a great job on the story. The art by Ruari Coleman wasn't bad. Not really my thing, but I'd call it a little bit below prime time, but definitely some talent there. Colors by Timothy C. Brown, did a great job. Letters by Troy Petrie, great job. Editor Kevin Kentner, yeah, did a fine job. I thought everything was nice and tight, really well done. I was surprised by some of the twists and turns it took. I didn't expect it to be quite like that. I think we're gonna see Ash kind of step up to the plate in the next few issues. Hopefully, I'd really like to see him kind of step it up a little bit and be more of the hero that he's meant to be, but he always was a reluctant hero, so it works really well. This is a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. Issues 1 and 2 are solid. Check it out, see what you think. If you like Army of Darkness or you like Kiss, you'll definitely find something here for you. But that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel, and we hope to see you on the next episode. What keeps the army of the dead at bay? Why, a Kiss concert, of course. Hello and welcome to another bad comic review. This time we are looking at Kiss the Army of Darkness issue 3. Now this miniseries is of course an alternate take on what would happen if Ash had been sent back in time 2 years too late because he missed a Kiss concert because Kiss had been abducted by cultists and sent back in time instead. Obviously, things did not go according to plan. Well, now Ash is with Kiss, and Sheila is with them as well, and she was the one that quested for the Necronomicon, lost her hand, and lost the Necronomicon because she was not the promised one. So evil Sheila got the Necronomicon. And with their powers minimized, Kiss can't do much either. So they decide to have a concert and invite all the local towns. So a bunch of people show up, but the dead have been tipped off to the events and show up as well. Thankfully, Kiss is able to draw on some power to fight them, and their power this time is not derived from the Destroyer, but from what else? The Kiss Army! And evil Sheila attacks good Sheila, and Ash is caught in the middle. It doesn't go very well, and there is a cliffhanger ending. Now again, this was actually a fun read. I was surprised too. There is a little bit of talking in here that seems excessive, but it does pretty well drive the plot. It's not a lot of pointless jibber jabber like you usually get. I'm going to recommend this one. I thought it was a lot of fun to read, and it's actually a pretty interesting take on Army of Darkness. It's done pretty well. It's handled maturely. I thought it was very fun, actually. So Dynamite continues to impress off and on, and this is not much of an exception. If you're a fan of Kiss or the Evil Dead franchise, I would definitely consider picking it up. It's better than most of the Evil Dead comics, which are usually pretty tepid. This one was actually pretty fun. So I know this is a short video. Sorry, but I don't want to give too much away from it, and the storyline is pretty straightforward. It's just an alternate telling of Army of Darkness featuring Kiss as well, and Kiss actually is very involved in the storyline, but I thought everybody did a pretty decent job. The colors were really good in this one. So written by Chad Bowers and Chris Sims, art by Riari Coleman, colors by Timothy C. Brown, letters by Tori Pitari, editor Kevin Kettner. They should all be pretty happy with themselves. The art is not my style, and it is a little amateurish, but it is definitely not the worst I've ever seen. Not even the worst I've seen recently. So if you get a chance to check out this series, I recommend it. It's a mini-series, so there's not a lot of risk. This was a solid issue. And as always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. And hopefully we'll see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another bad comic review. This time we're looking at Kiss, the Army of Darkness, issue 4 from Dynamite. This is written by Chad Bowers and Chris Sims, art by Ruari Coleman, colors by Timothy C. Brown, letters by Troy Pateri, editor was Kevin Kettner. Okay, so Ash has turned to the dark side. He's controlled by the deadites, but Sheila is trying to fight him off, and evil Sheila is there with her minions, so it's up to good Sheila and Kiss to stop the deadites from attacking. Things have not been going well for our heroes. Kiss is managing to try and put a stop to things, but evil Sheila has the Necronomicon, which has empowered evil corrupted Ash to be much more powerful. But the wise man has a plan, and the members of Kiss form this giant monster thing, demon thing, which utilizes the power of the Destroyer to try and channel their power into one being. And Ash is split into 6 people, but they don't stand a chance, so Sheila uses the Necronomicon to make him larger, same size as this purple-haired demon thing. Unfortunately, Ash and Kiss get sucked into the Necronomicon, and the Necronomicon is taken from evil Sheila, but it may not be enough. And interestingly, the Necronomicon in this has kind of its own personality. It does talk, and it talks about its own goals and its own power, which is something kind of new. Now, overall, the issue issue was pretty good. It was a lot more interesting. It's taken a lot of twists and turns that I didn't expect, like the talking Necronomicon for one, but it also had a little bit different character angles, like since this is an alternate version of Army of Darkness, the fact that Ash got corrupted and he's basically a villain through part of last issue and this issue is definitely a new change of pace, but we are going to get uncorrupted Ash back next issue, and that's the final issue, and hopefully we'll see them save the day. But Kiss was really cool in this one. They actually did a lot more. They were more involved, and you got to see them kind of like unify into like a Voltron type demon creature and try and stop the Army of Darkness that way. And it's a very interesting take on the story, and I liked it. I thought it was well done. The art's pretty decent. It's not great, but it's definitely acceptable for what Dynamite does. I thought overall it was a fun read, so I'm going to recommend this. I thought it was a fun story so far, and hopefully it wraps up just as well. We'll look at that in another episode, obviously, but I'm pretty impressed with the series so far. I thought it was fun. It may not be an intellectual masterpiece, but it's definitely not the worst thing you're going to read. But if you like Army of Darkness or Kiss, I think there's something for you here. But that's just my take. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss future reviews, and we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Kiss the Army of Darkness issue 5. This is the final issue of the miniseries, written by Chad Bowers and Chris Sims, art by Riari Coleman, colors by Tim C. Brown, letters by Troy Pateri, editor Kevin Kettner. It's been 700 years since Kiss and the Promised One disappeared in a vortex, but now a small cabin in the mountains is revealing its dark secrets because some cultists showed up for the Book of the Dead, where a researcher had gone to study it. It's a familiar place if you've seen Evil Dead 1 and 2, but the cultists have some banter. They've got the book. They open the book to see what secrets it contains, and boom, Kiss pops out with the Promised One. Now, these cultists are the ones that actually confronted Kiss at their concert, but this happens before they do that. So they have to stop the cultists to prevent the timeline that happened and reset things in the proper time and space. Now they toss Ash aside pretty quickly, and Kiss is trying to fight these guys, but one of the cultists gets a hold of the Necronomicon, says the magic words, and Ash finds himself a shotgun in the shed. Thankfully, things do sort of work themselves out. We've got a really interesting resolution to things. I don't want to say too much more about what happens in the book or how it plays out because it's pretty fun, and overall I thought it was a great end cap. We actually get to see a little bit more of Ash, and we get to see what happens with him and Kiss. I thought it was really well done. A really good final issue to the series. The art is actually a little better in this issue than in the previous ones. I thought the detailing is about the same, but the artist has definitely refined their skill a little bit. Still a little ways to go before your primetime quality in my opinion, but it's improved over the series, I think. And I would definitely recommend this issue in particular and the miniseries in general as a Kiss story or as an Army of Darkness story. It was a fun combination, and it really kind of played itself out really well and was handled with a lot more respect than I would have expected. So I'm going to recommend this issue and this miniseries. If you've got the single issues, you're definitely going to want to read this one. It really ties it together. And if you're looking for a good read, pick the miniseries up when it comes out in trade paperback. By the time you hear this, it'll probably already be out in trade paperback. But I highly recommend it if you're a fan of the movie franchise for Army of Darkness or Evil Dead, or if you're a fan of Kiss. It was a really fun introduction to both sets of characters, even if you only have a passing familiarity with them. So this is a definite recommend. It was worth the $4, and it was a lot of fun. This issue is not a great standalone issue, but the miniseries as a whole was definitely worth it. But that's just my take. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss future reviews, and we hope to see you on the next one.